iRacing just released another development blog. Now, every time they release these development blogs, it gives us an insight into what is happening with the future development of iRacing. Now, I just want to look quickly into this. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I'm going to go through what is essentially the most important point of this Season 3 development blog, as they call it. So, there's a link in the description if you want to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to go through the bullet points of what's the most important thing, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. This is essentially starting out, as always, with an intro. Just talking about the participation in Indy 500, there being hundreds of splits even within this huge event, which has been an absolute massive success. Then essentially he just runs through what is going to happen in this development blog. Now, there's a couple of different things that they want to talk about, starting off with the tracks. They have 3 categories of tracks, which will be 1, all new tracks, 2, rescanned and remodeled, and 3, refreshed and upgraded tracks. Now, these new tracks will be coming either this upcoming season, a couple of weeks, or the next season, or essentially throughout this year. You can expect some of these tracks. Now, some of them they haven't exactly completely finished up doing, so you can't expect them all to be coming with this upcoming update. One thing you can expect to be upcoming with this update is this track, the Bend. So this is a track in Australia. I have actually never heard of this track, to be completely honest with you, but what I do know from down here, it's called the Shell V-Power Motorsports Park, and it features a the full layout, which is of a 7.77 kilometer length, which is a very long track, especially for racetracks. It also says that it is the second longest permanent racetrack in the world, which is quite insane. It looks really wild. It looks quite flat on this map, but it does state that there is actually quite a bit of elevation, or a decent amount of elevation change, more than you might expect. I'm kind of looking forward to trying out this track, especially because it looks like it has a lot of different type of corners. It's got sharp corners, it's got more flowy high-speed corners. Back here we kind of see some Suzuka S's into a long corner, stuff like that. I'm looking forward to trying out this track. It looks like something that's very unique. Now we scroll down to rescanned and remodeled tracks. This is essentially for the category where the tracks are rescanned, so maybe curbs are redone, or the scenery is redone, and stuff like that. Now this is mainly ovals, but also Sonoma Raceway. We have Iowa Speedway, Sonoma Raceway, Richmond Raceway, Worldwide Technology Raceway. I don't know a lot of these. Charlotte Motor Speedway, which is also has a road course, so that'll be nice to see that. And then North Wilkesboro Raceway. So if you are an oval fan and like to race on any of these tracks, you can look forward to a slightly remodeled and rescanned version of them. Just gives them a little bump up upgrade, like we've seen recently with tracks like Sebring or Road Atlanta or something like that. They just get this slight upgrade that just helps them look a bit more modern and a bit more sleek, which is nothing against that. We absolutely love that iRacing keeps on doing that. Refreshed and upgraded tracks. Here it says, our refreshed and upgraded tracks are a category of update that we have done our best to keep up with. Essentially what these are is mainly graphically updated, as they say here. These are not rescans, but they're nearly complete rebuilds where we have recreated all artwork using current tooling and quality standards. So essentially just a reskinning of the track. So down here they state that currently they are working on refreshing tracks like Circuit of the Americas, Darlington, Daytona, Indianapolis, Lime Rock Park, Phoenix, Texas, and more. So this is something that they have ongoing in the background and that they've been doing pretty much every season for the last couple of years. Now, if we scroll down a bit here, we get to the new cars section. Well, not new car section, but the section where we talk about cars, which also has quite some interesting information, essentially, right? So firstly, there is a bit of information on a completely new car. This will be the Ferrari 296 Challenge, which is essentially going to be well, it's basically the challenge version of the GT3 car, right? Now there are some different things with the fact that this thing has 700 horsepower and weighs 1495 kilograms. So it's going to be an absolute beast. It might even beat the GT3s. Just on a raw engine power with that. Like, it's absolutely insane on power, but I do believe that it is going to be a little bit more difficult of a driving experience than the GT3s, because the challenge cars normally are, like, for example, if you look in real life, the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Challenge or something, the cars are just a little bit more difficult to sort of drive and get a proper hold of. Anyways, I'm looking forward to testing out this car. It will be replacing the current GT3 car and the GT3 Challenge in D license, so it's gonna give something for the D license drivers who are coming up through the ranks, something to really try and hassle with. Now, as we scroll down, there is, of course, another car. Now, this is not actually something I know so much about. As I said, I'm not necessarily the biggest overall enthusiast, but you will be getting two different cars here. You'll be getting the 2003 Chevrolet Monte Carlo and a 2003 Ford Taurus. If this is something that excites you, that's simply lovely. You can see the front of the nose here. It sort of has that old school NASCAR vibe, which is, of course, very sick. Now, as we actually scroll down, they talk a bit about sort of overhauling classes instead of necessarily new cars, right? So firstly, there is a big overhaul of the whole IndyCar system. Of course, iRacing works closely with IndyCar to sort of do the Indy 500, do the IndyCar series, stuff like that. You know, it's sort of it's sort of a kind of an official partner, actually, to each other. They sort of really work well together on that. So they have done everything they can this season to really overhaul the IndyCar to be up to modern specs. Now, what does this include? This includes down here, setup range limits have been blah blah blah, barge boards have been added, and all tire types have been updated. So essentially, the car's going to drive slightly different. On top of that, it has a hybrid system now included, which was introduced to the real life IndyCars in 2024 season, but was not in the iRacing IndyCars, but they will be now. There's also a slightly there's a sound example here of what the new IndyCar will sound like. You might notice it having, it has that growl on entry, but I don't see it being, like, for me, I have not driven that car so much. It's not a huge difference, but it is definitely a slight difference. Now, scroll down here, there's a picture of the team, the audio team, trying to capture the audio properly. Of course, they're working on a new audio system, which is hopefully going to be sounding absolutely amazing. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they do develop with that. There is nothing later on that, but later in the post they do explain some of the future stuff that they are working on, which we will also be having a quick look at. Now, firstly, there is also some stuff about the Gen 7 NASCAR Cup. If you quickly want to read through that, well, in general, it's just about, actually, never mind, yeah, I'm tripping. It's just, in general, just about how they are working on new tires. They'll also be coming on the Gen 7 NASCAR Cup like it was on the GTP model last season. Now, here is something exciting that I'm actually really happy to read or looking forward to actually trying out. He says, our most significant car project this season was a whopper that spanned 6 months of intensive development. A very comprehensive redevelopment of our entire GT3 race car class. This is going to be something interesting, especially because if we scroll further down, it says that they basically use some of the information from stuff like the GTP time model that was introduced last season, and then they've sort of adapted it to the GT3 cars to make that really realistic. Now, if we're looking specifically for what is the most exciting things, it says, right, one second, there's also some different stuff with, you'll probably have to do a lot of setup work to properly get them dialed into the new stuff. But the important part is this right here. One of the most important goals in tire development was to reduce the tire surface temperature spikes to a reasonable level. This reduced sensitivity to sliding is a significant step forward in our modeling, resulting in tires that are more resilient to short-term sliding and have better post-slide grip recovery. You might be thinking, what in the world does this mean, Marcus? Well, iRacing is very renowned, especially in its GT3s, to have a tire model that if you have a little slide, you absolutely mess up the tires for the rest of your stint. So this is a massive update. It is a massive promise that they're giving us, that now you will be able to push the tires a bit more, have a little slide, and the tires won't instantly die on you and won't die on you for the rest of the stint. There is a lot more detail here that you are very welcome to read through, both in the link in the description or just pause the video right here. and read through it. But essentially, this is really exciting news. iRacing are completely overhauling the GT3 tire model. Also, this overall just like suspension geometry and stuff like that. It's gonna be a completely different driving experience, and they are promising that this is going to be the new standard for GT3 simulation within sim racing, which is cool. I'm looking forward to trying this out, and I really hope that they deliver on this promise, because it is a very, very big promise. Now, moving on, there is some small news. Unless you're a Lotus 79 driver, I know that there's a lot of very loyal drivers to that series. There's rain tires added to the Lotus, and a couple, and the Super Formula, and then the F4 has received a full dry and wet tire rework. The BMW has been upgraded. The M4 GT4 has been upgraded to the Evo version. You don't need to do anything about that. And then the BMW GTP has received the updated wheel that they are running in real life compared to the old one that we had before. That's also pretty cool. Small details like that. It's always nice to have updates of. Now, features. This is not necessarily the most exciting one if you are a VR user. This is definitely something that you just want to quickly read through. I don't know a lot about VR, to be completely honest, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I do. Now, moving on, here we have rain, visual and physical balance tuning. So this is also something that is going to be pretty nice. It's just a little practical thing, because recent seasons, or well, in general with rain, it's been really hard to visually see through the graphics how much rain is actually on the track. You know, there's been spray on the track from cars, there's been water, but you have essentially been able to drive on a dry tire. You know, it hasn't really resembled the actual grip what you are seeing. So they have spent some time retuning this, which is going to be nice, just to have that little bit more better of a feeling of what the grip is actually like. Like, should you go on dry, should you stay, or should you go on wet tires? Just that little fine tuning, I hope, is going to make that slight bit of a difference. Now, it says here that this is not certain whether it's going to make it for the Season 3 build, or whether it's going to be for the Season 4 build, or something later. You know, it's still a bit uncertain what's dropping in 3 weeks and what isn't. This is just a quick development update on what's going on. Hardware, they are rolling out additional 360Hz support across multiple wheels. They don't mention which ones, but there is more information to follow, which we're also looking forward to. And that is essentially what's happening this next season. Nothing crazy, not any Miami street circuit or anything like it announced yet. You know, they can still announce something, but I do not think we'll get anything crazy. Last season as well, there wasn't any big releases. There was one track and maybe a car or two. There was nothing major. It was just mainly trying to make sure the sim actually works properly, which I appreciate iRacing has actually gone ahead and done. Now, for the future development, they are just start out by talking about the new UI. They still don't know when this will be dropping, but we are still looking forward to it. I do think it looks good. I do think the current UI in iRacing looks very outdated. So this is something that we are looking forward to having. Now, essentially what they mention is that they are also thankful that the iRacing community is patient with this, because they don't actually know when it's going to be rolling out, but they are quite far along the progress of doing it. But they have been working on it for years. They've also been talking about it for years, so we've been waiting for it for a while, and they're just mentioning that they're thankful for our patience. Now, right here as well, they just mentioned the new rendering, or the new graphics engine that they're working on, which is something I am really excited about, because iRacing, I think, on high graphics does look good, but it's not optimized. You need a really good PC to run on high graphics. I really hope this new rendering I believe it definitely will look better, but I also believe that you don't need as good of a PC to have it look better. Like, the baseline performance of the game should definitely be better, as at least what they mentioned in some of the other updates, which is going to be nice. I'm looking forward to this whole thing, and also hopefully better graphics and a better looking game. Physics, we are focused on improving physics in iRacing on a continuous basis. This is what I was just talking about. It seems like they're focusing a lot on improving physics, instead of necessarily bringing new content all the time like they were doing a couple of years back. You know, they were dropping multiple GT3 cars, multiple other cars and stuff like that. You know, they were dropping a lot of content, but now they're just focused on really just trying to improve the game. Career mode is also something that they are still working on. They just took a little bit of a side quest to improve the AI, which is fair, but it will be coming, which is also looking interesting. Now, just something quickly I want to mention before we end of this video. There's a lot of stuff to cover, lads. I hope you're still with me here. Is future track and car content. Now, this is something exciting because if we currently go down here, our team is already deep into development on our September car and track releases as well as December. Currently, the track team is pushing most intensely on Mexico City, which is going to be pretty cool. This is the Mexico F1 track they use, which is going to be nice to have in iRacing. I think it's going to be really cool. On top of that, they recently updated their Miami data. Now that F1 has had its May race. Now, we do know that we are getting these tracks. It was already confirmed, but it's nice to see that they're telling us they're making progress on it. It will probably not be coming this current update, but in the September release for the Season 4 update and December release for the 26 Season 1 update, which is going to be lovely. On top of that, they mentioned the car team is working on many interesting projects, including exciting additions to the GT3, GT4, and GTP class. That is a very important little note, especially for me who I like hypercars. I think working hypercars is one of the greatest thing that has ever happened to sports car racing, I'll be completely honest. And the fact that we're getting a new GTP to iRacing is super exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing what GTP will be, because that is not yet confirmed, but we do know that we are getting something in the future. Now, essentially, that is basically the most important parts of the whole blog post. They do have a couple pictures down here at the bottom. Oh my god, I cannot go out of this picture. They do have a couple of pictures here at the bottom, which have also been throughout the blog post, essentially, that just take a look at some of the new content. Now, I do hope that you enjoyed this rundown. Almost 17 minutes. It was a little bit of a long one, a lot of talking, a lot of content to cover, but I do hope that it was kind of short enough for me to just run you through this quickly. I'm super excited about this. If you are too, make sure to subscribe. I've been Marcus, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!